Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I title this message, Stop Making Excuses for Toxic Relatives and Friends. Stop making excuses for toxic relatives and friends. Let's start with those individuals who will say things like, no, my sister, she's not like that. No, my brother, I don't know what you're talking about. No, my dad, no, you got me mistaken. I'm not even like that. My mother, I don't think so. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. Look, when a person has a long track record, as I've said in other audio, of not getting along with, can't seem to keep a friend, got a number of divorces under his or her belt, tends to be in and out of jobs rather quickly, not by design, not like myself, a temporary contractor. We're talking about someone who you got the permanent job and you're like, nope, I can't stand these people. I hate these people and everything else. I know sometimes we have our moments, but we're talking about people who there's always some kind of issue going on with them. Maybe they are excellent workers. Excellent. Get along with everybody just fine. But at home, quite another story. Get around mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, cousins, arguing, fighting, all of that. They're used to the toxic mess. And they say, well, that's just how my brother is. That's just how my sister is. Sometimes they're not arguers. We tend to overlook the people who are very silent, very quiet. Okay. Yet in some cases, deadly. When you have individuals that you know, and I will put my hand up, in the family, that not only have they gotten into all sorts of squabbles with folks, but some of them have served years in jail. Why would I make an excuse for them? Why would I say, well, what had happened was, and back in the day in their family and all that, even though we do cover that. We cover that on this channel about childhood traumas and dramas and PTSD and all of the personality disorders like histrionic personality disorder and narcissism, bipolar, all of it. But this is just people at this point who they're used to all of it. And so they make excuses for all of it. You see, and they're not going to have pity, empathy, sympathy, not genuine for some individuals when they don't believe that what came out of their womb or out of what with a man that has these sorts of issues. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't hit you. He wouldn't do nothing like that. No, he wouldn't shut down. What did you do? Yeah, I know you did something, girl. Because see, you tend to be very, I don't know how shall I describe it. I mean, you tend to be very outspoken. I can see why you probably had your share of issues with people. Oh, so that's what we're doing. We're blaming victims. Oh, okay. No, I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying he has a long history. I think you forgot about Tammy and Sue and Mary and Ellen and Trish and Tina. Come on. Some of you all. I mean, wow, we get selective memory, especially around holiday seasons, because 'tis the season. It's coming up. Selective memory. Oh, well, he bought me this nice car, girl. He bought me a Tesla. I love my brother. I bet you do. You love his money. Stop playing. And then the minute he starts cussing you out, fussing and everything else, I can't stand my brother. I hate my brother. Man, I wish my mother had never had him. When they start using and abusing those that made excuses for them, I had your back. I stood in the gap for you. I told all them people that you was a good person, and you got the nerve to turn around and you gonna do me like this. That's why some of those family members and friends are under all sorts of court orders and stuff where they can't speak out on celebrities. Some of them, they done had to sign non-disclosure agreements and everything else. That's why you don't hear from some of them. You say to yourself, I know that man is crazy. He be out here on these videos. He be doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Or, oh my goodness, that woman, woo, she's a hot mess. And she's out here just rocking with the public and everything else. But we never hear from their families. Yeah. You get somebody a nice ride, a nice whip. Next thing you know, oh, it's good. I love my brother. I love my sister. Come on. I will never speak anything ugly. Thank you for that check, girl. You see? Now, for some of you all, I know it rubs you the wrong way because you know that who railed accusations against brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, what have you, straight up was evil, dark, and told a bunch of lies. Okay? Because I've come across those too. Now, I know we can't be everywhere with everyone. But when there's evidence and proof that people were not in locations and yet folks still accusing them, there's an issue. A huge one. You see? Or when you sit down and you talk with someone about the various events and they conveniently leave out everything that they said that they did. Okay. All right. I mean, I know my brother or I know my sister. He or she typically doesn't behave that way. Okay. Because I've had my squabbles with them. So tell me this. What was happening? What provoked? What caused? And of course, the one who doesn't want to look guilty, doesn't want you to do any digging, they're going to tweak a story, change a story, leave out characters, leave out what they did, what they said. I mean, you know, if you look at some of those police interrogation videos, you know, detectives and so forth, you know, investigating things, you can see how the people just straight up lie. You can see it on their face and in their body language and the shifting and the eye rolling and even trying to do a poker face without blinking. Get out of here, you freaking liar. You see, it gets frustrating for some of you all because you know that there are those that's running game. Okay. I saw it growing up and I was just a child and had enough sense to know that my uncle telling my grandma another lie. Yep. Oop, that uncle was telling a lie too. Oh, and there's the other one. I mean, I grew up with a lot of men, a lot of black men. Okay. And when you have seen things play out over and over and over again, you're like, okay, by the time you're an adult, don't even try it. What you mean? What you talking about? Don't even try it. I've seen this already, and all you're going to do is make me angry. That's what you're going to do. And we don't need that. So come correct, come clean, and let's move on about our business. You see, that's not asking for much. Nobody's cussing, fussing, yelling, jumping up in nobody's face. All of that shows up when a person has had enough. You see, when we go to the one true God about events, though, there is a degree of peace that'll fall upon you as you're waiting for the evidence, for the proof. You see, I know my brother wouldn't say this. Whoa, wait a minute. Looks like evidence proof shows that he was guilty, or evidence and proof shows no, he wasn't. You see. We know that some people, they have their personal bias. They have their vendettas. The he say, she say that floats around in family circles, which is, for some of you all listening, you didn't just happen to come across this message. It's going to show up at the next family holiday event. That's why for some of you all, you've got that churning stomach sensation going on every time they bring up coming over to the house, because you know that there's going to be something that happens. God didn't just give you these things for you to go, oh, okay, I got it. But I'm still going to do. No, you might want to reevaluate and then just hear through the grapevine what happened. That's what I did. There were years where the Lord spoke to me and he said, you're not going to go to this event, but go to the other one. And I would be like, oh, but I really want to go to this event because so-and-so going to be there. I want to, no, it's not a good idea. And so when folks would ask, oh, are you going to come? No. Well, and then of course they're going to talk about you, right? So then it got to a point where I only wanted to sit down with the host of the event. So tell me when you're available. Well, what about everybody? Don't you want to see everybody? No, I don't. The Lord hasn't led me to see everybody, but I do want to see you. So I had one-on-ones with different people over the years, you see. And sometimes you couldn't let the left hand, of course, know what the right hand is doing, because then people form judgments. Oh, you went over to her house. Oh, you sat down with this person. Yeah, And the reason why sometimes people didn't want you to get around some people is because they knew that those people were going to tell their business. And maybe the information was at times accurate, and maybe sometimes the information was inaccurate, and I had to raise my voice on a couple people about some stupid things that they said, because evidence and proof showed that no. And matter of fact, you proved just what some of the relatives said. You're a liar and you're jealous. You see, because we've got those individuals. Sometimes people on the outside looking in, they don't know that you know things about different people. So they're sitting up here giving you a long litany of why you shouldn't go over, why you shouldn't talk to, and all this other stuff. And it's like, I'm grown. I already know what it is. I don't need your long list. I know you might care about me, but then again, maybe you're more concerned about what that person's going to say. But trust me, I got this. You see, when I wrote Tell Me Mother You're Sorry, that right there is the blueprint of everything that some of these controlling, devious, manipulative women come up with. Yes, I went there. Okay. When I came to the Lord with other things that were on my heart concerning family, the Lord showed me in the spiritual realm where people were having all sorts of issues about even being around family. And that's why should I go to the party? And it wasn't just about family, but friends too. That's why the book, Should I Go to the Party, is one that I recommend if you are that one that every single year it's the same old thing, you know, with these in-laws. I mean, I just married this person. Why do I have to keep going to these events? Why do I have to keep picking up the phone? You know, why do I? Yeah, exactly. That's why we're cutting away and cutting off. Okay. I mean, that's a long time for some individuals, 20, 30, 40 plus years. You've been with this person. You still tripping over all these family events and people calling you and all that. You can draw the line in the sand. Oh, I'm so afraid that. Afraid of what? Even God has his limits of how much he's going to keep listening to some folk, especially when they're telling lies and railing false accusations against people and using and abusing. And then, I mean, if I'm walking with the Lord, and I told you that I'm walking with the Lord, I'm trying to get my act together, right? I'm trying to make quality decisions in life. I know you're not trying to do that. Why would I want to be in your presence? Because all we're going to do is have spirits in and around us that's going to war with each other. And there's no sense in doing all of that when I know that I'm on a path. If I'm on a path, let's say, for instance, I'm going to give an example, because I know some individuals come through here and they have gotten over all sorts of alcohol addictions. And I do mean got over, like the Lord spoke to them, you know, they went through various programs and so forth, and they are free and been clean for years. Okay. So you're on that path of getting your act together. And here you are being called into an atmosphere where people are sitting up there making false accusations against you because maybe you laughed a little too much, or maybe, you know, you tripped over something or whatever. Oh, there he is. He back to drinking again. No, I'm not. I'm not back to doing any of that. Why would you say that? Yeah, well, you was just laughing a little bit too much, and then you tripped over something. Like, whoa. Oh, so that's what we're doing. You see, and people after a while, they get tired of that. You keep holding me to someone who I once was, says someone. And I'm sick of it. And if you have to have that conversation with someone, then you can go ahead and have it. And I'm telling you, God, he got your back. Because I've had these conversations and there was no lightning bolt that came down upon me. And there was no curses that was hurled against me that stuck. You see, let's have that conversation. Okay, here's the conversation. You're talking to all these different people behind my back. You're saying all these things about me, saying that I'm crazy because I believe in the Lord, because I'm trusting in the Lord. I'm not out here in these streets. I'm not doing all these dirty things, messing around with Jim, Bob, Harry, and everybody else. I'm taking care of my family responsibilities. And somehow, even though I do all of these things, I'm still considered whatever you want to call me, which is negative. Okay, here's what we're going to do. After a while, when you done already had those conversations, boop, suddenly I cut you off, I cut away, and I put you in God's hands. And that's just what I did. And I continue to do it to this day. Because you know, some of you all, when you opened up your door to individuals and you said, come on in, and you had a big old smile on your face and you were so glad to see some people, or you went over to someone's house and that's the way they were with you. But then there's always the devil in the room. You see, and I've said in other audio, looking you up and down, sideways, got an attitude, spitting their words at you, even the way they say your name. Now, what is this all about? You see? And so some of you all, as soon as you saw some things, you paid your respects, loved on some folks, if it was a funeral, right? Repast, something along those lines. Or, just a holiday event. I'm just dipping in real quick. Hey, everybody, how you doing? And then you saw the devil in the room and then you were like, okay, it's time for me to go. Not because you were fearful, just because you did not want to go there. And this would be the wrong time. And you know yourself. I love some of you all because I know that you have those strong personalities, but you put them in check. You see, I have a strong personality, but I put my personality in check. In person, I don't come as at times firm, aggressive, strong, preachy, and all of that, because I recognize that I have a human being in the room that has feelings just like me. And you treat people how you want to be treated. Didn't our parents and grandparents and even some other folk tell you that? So then why is it that you got individuals who don't do that? Because they got their own agendas. Because they know what they're trying to go after or get at or take from. You see, it's always an agenda that nobody knows about but the person who is delivering the foolishness. False accusation. You sitting up here, you looking at me crooked out. You telling me that my mother said what? That my mother did what? Okay, so here's what I have to say to you. And then, hey, I go in. You see. Can't nobody tell me about my mother. You see. Because I already had my conversations, good, bad, and otherwise, with my mother. You see. And nobody's going to tell you how you do things either. Because some of you all, that is the main issue right there. The reason why people feel like they can say whatever, even if it is straight up a lie. You know why? Because over the years, you were so open and honest and loving and free-spirited, some of you all. And so they took your kindness for weakness and they took your face and rubbed it with all of their dirt. And now some of you all, you can't be in the presence of someone without cussing and fussing, because I remember what you did. You dirty little. You see. And you know that's not godly behavior. Come on. God said he wants us to walk like him, right? Jesus, he had disciples for a good reason. Why do you think he had to teach some men? Because evidently he saw some things about some men that he did not like. And he knew, oh my goodness, Some of you all, you going to be on a straight path to hell. Woo! I got to save some people. You see. When we think of those that not only were they wrongly accused, used, abused, mistreated, you name it, but then someone goes out and plots to take them off the planet, or worse, successfully does. Wow. So it wasn't enough for some individuals to have to go through emotional abuse, physical abuse. Given the time at which I'm recording this message, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But then those that successfully got away with some things got the nerve to complain about the deceased. Got the nerve to speak evil of the deceased. Got the nerve to put that person's business all out there in detail. It's one thing when you're using, some examples and, you're protecting the identity of individuals and all that. But to just, and the first and the last name and the location and really? So it wasn't enough that the person is 6 feet under our feet. But you haven't stopped yet with all of your negativity. You see. I know some people want to believe that when you go, when God calls you home, that there's going to be people who are going to just speak so highly of you, that they're going to lay you to rest and take care of your family who you've left behind and all of that. I mean, that's what we would like, right? But the reality that I've seen with so many family members since I've even had this channel past 15 plus people gone now, that's not what happens over time. Initially, yes, but over time, that's not what happened. Once people got comfortable with the grief process, got back to, their typical routines and so forth, outcomes, what they didn't like, what they couldn't stand, what the person said about you, and on and on. And then when it's true, the things that come out of the mouths of people, it hurts. We're not going to sugarcoat. We're not going to deny. We're not going to repress. It hurts. The nerve of that person checked out of here, stirring up the pot. But can I tell you that on the other side, we all reap what we've sown on this side. That's why some of these paranormal activities, as if a person hasn't rested, is ongoing. It seems to be heightened around this time of year because people are messing around with the dark arts. And so all sorts of spirits float around, and some of them just guise themselves as beloved loved ones, right? They show up and they say things like, I remember, or I need you to do, or she said that she loves you, and, general statements that some of these spiritists and mediums and psychics and so forth come up with to get more money. They're not going to be too specific, many of them. And then some of them are pretty specific. And then when you got all this information out here on the internet, you could just do a little research. She's not that good. He's not that good. You could just do a little research, first, last name, ask you some questions, build a rapport. And your father said, and your mother said, and your sister and your brother, yes. Oh, please. This is why I don't mess around like that. And some of you all, some of the things that come out, especially if a person's not on point and they got poor customer service in some of these places that these people frequent, let me tell you something. They could be having an off day and say the wrong thing, and now you're tormented by it. A false accusation from the grave, and you got evidence and proof that before he or she left out of here. No, that's not what happened. No, I see that is, no, you're wrong. You see? You got some individuals who they're not spiritists, mediums, witches, warlocks, or anything. They're just believers who, some of them say that they have a prophetic gifting. Now, I can tell you from my own personal experience and from those who have validated me on being a prophetess, a seer, I will tell you this, that there are wannabes, because one thing about it, there are some challenges that you will undergo that God himself, by design, will put you through, and there's suffering involved. And if you don't have a track record of suffering as a result of the prophetic that you've given, then I'd have to question how much of a prophet are you? Because every major and minor prophet has some degree of challenge in their lifetime, and some individuals actually were murdered because they gave that much information. You see. And that was, of course, with God's leading. He allows some things to happen because your time, when it's done, is done. And we recognize our time. We don't know the day or the hour that we're going to check out of here, but we do recognize that we don't have long on the planet. And we're okay with that. We're comfortable with that. It's people around us that aren't so comfortable with it and don't like you talking about how long you got on this planet. But that's a whole nother topic. So here we are, seated before, let's say, men and women. And let's go there again. A-listers, elitists were in the room. And there is some information in the atmosphere that someone wants. And they decide to call upon you to provide that information. And let's just say that you are a child of darkness, not a child of light, but you're a child of darkness, and you're seated there, and you know that these are very powerful people in the room. You've already done some research on some of the individuals because, well, you've seen their movies, or you've seen them play sports, or you've seen them on talk shows and elsewhere. So what's coming out your mouth, being a child of darkness, and this is why the Lord, he warns about false prophets and so forth. What's coming out your mouth is whatever is appeasing, tickling the ear. There's no gateway, no opening, no portal for the Holy Spirit to come in, because that's a child of darkness. And this is why sometimes the information that individuals receive, they say to themselves, I doubt this information. I don't know what's up with this. Okay. Now I use that example. Place yourself at a family holiday event, and no, you don't have elitists and celebrities and all that, but you do have family members who you're comfortable with. You're so comfortable with that you don't even like some of them, and you say some things on purpose that's negative and dark and hope that they get tormented. You see, some people can't help themselves, and that's what they do. Okay? That's what they do. Why in the world would somebody do that? Hey, sin is among us, evil is among us. I know some people want to just go off into some kind of fairy tale world and not believe that people can be so devious and so ugly, but they can. And so people fight and they fight and they fight some more. But I want some individuals to be free according to the will of the Lord. I want some individuals to be free, that they're not going to be caught up in all of the dramas and traumas and, these issues that show up at family holiday events because somebody doesn't want to believe, or because somebody does believe, but I'm not ready to hear it from you. You see. So I'm asking in Jesus' name for every listener to be discerning before accepting holiday events, invitations. I'm also asking in Jesus' name that the Lord is going to just speak to you in terms of what you need to do when dealing with these communication issues where somebody's not understanding, or somebody is, bringing up some lies, putting out some false information about, family history, recent events, anything. Okay. Because these conversations and these atmospheres can become quite tense very quickly. I would also say, I'm seeing in the spiritual realm, to avoid controversial topics. Healthcare, health-related things that you do, that falls right under religion as well, and politics, topics that you need to stay away from. I know you're passionate about what you believe. I know that, I want everybody to do or not do, but at the end of the day, all it did, and I know from personal experience, workplaces and elsewhere, all it did was it created division. You see, and some people are not going to believe anything that you present before them, evidence and proof, going back to that, because they have talked themselves into whatever they did or didn't do as being the right thing. And when they throw God into it, that's when I start to cringe, because I know that there have been times where God spoke to me, matter of fact, way before all of this stuff was in the media, of what people were going to start doing, saying that God said, God told me, God this and that. And meanwhile, they can't even listen to the simple things that God wants them to do, like trust in Him. No, I'm going to trust in myself. I'm not going to be trusting in external influences. And okay. But then suddenly, when it's convenient, God said, God told me. Okay, sure. So let's not get into those types of discussions with individuals. Also, if these invitations, and once again, should I go to the party, tell me mother you're sorry, say goodbye to dad. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff related to family that I just can't cover all of that in an audio message, as well as abusive relationships as well. Socially sweet, privately cruel, abusive men, she's crazy, laboring to love, and abusive mate. All of those are my books. I got 17 plus out there, but do help yourself. The other thing, I'm seeing something in the spirit about prophetic giftings and spiritual gifts. Those are pulled out when God moves on you, not when you feel. There's too much emotion with believers when it comes to doing God's will. You're going on what you feel, your five senses. At that point, it's worldly, it's natural, it's not, though, God's will. So you've got to go with what He provides you, which is going back to scripture, signs, visions, wonders, right? That He used with the prophets, and even used His chosen to perform certain acts. And this is what's interesting, is some of you all, you will right away say that bizarre acts that God will move on men and women to do is of the devil, or that person's crazy. No, God is still using humans to do bizarre things. But the thing is that you've got to be able to break down what the symbolism is in the act. And then Satan has his counterfeits who will do something similar to draw people, except it's about drawing people to take from them. You see, whether it's money, opportunity, networking, anything, that always comes back to what somebody looks like before men and women and income. So there's a lot of interesting things ahead, and this is why it's so important to know people, really know people before you jump on a bandwagon and assume that everything that you see, especially in mainstream media, is fact. I don't care that they got fact checkers. Checkers are paid very well. Okay? There's many of them that are paid very well. And certain information is not to be leaked. Certain information is not to be discussed. All of these accusations and so forth that they put upon people, even in mainstream media, there's always a plan. Okay, so get ready for a bumpy ride all over again going into 2023, 2024, and I'm seeing as far out as 2027, where there's going to be many of the outspoken celebrities who rise up and they start telling some of the secrets, knowing full well that they did take oaths. And when this unraveling takes place, there's going to also be a lot of things that I'm being held in the spirit to not say. Isn't it interesting? Even God works with the algorithms and keywords and so forth too. But there's going to be a number of events that take place, and it's going to really shock some individuals, bring some tears to people's eyes. They're going to go, oh my goodness, there's just no way that what people have put out in the media, mainstream media, that's correct. That the events behind the scenes were quite different. We've seen this time and time again in other ways, but there's going to be some shocking situations up ahead. Because people get tired of being muzzled like dogs, okay? They get tired of being told to stay in the house. They get tired of their careers being played with. They get tired of folks canceling them. And so, yeah, get ready for the bumpy ride. I thank you as always for taking time out to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving. Blessings to you.